Hi there, students. A partition. To partition. This was a request by Son of Iraq, so thank you for the suggestion. Okay, a partition is a structure that separates two things. Very often that separates one room from another. Or to partition, the act of dividing or separating something by creating a boundary that keeps the two parts separate. Particularly to partition a country. So India was partitioned into India and Pakistan in 1947. Okay, so to partition, to divide into parts. When I hear this word partition, I think one of the things I think about is partitioning a hard disk. Is you make it two virtual disks, two smaller disks by cutting it in half. Well, not physically, but making it into two disks to partition a disk. Or you could make a partition between two rooms. There is a plywood partition between the two rooms. So, partition. To separate into two different pieces or various different parts or sections. For example, a wall that separates two spaces, or the division of property, the partition of the property of a deceased person. You can even have to partition in mathematics where, let's see, to partition the number 4, where you could have 3 plus 1 plus 1. That's a partitioning of 4. Or if you partition the number 428, you could partition 428 into 8, 20 and 400. If you add those together, you get 428. To partition a country, let's see, the British partitioned India, or British India, in 1947, and it was partitioned into the Republic of India, or the Union of India, and the Dominion of Pakistan. The British very often like this solution. The British also partitioned Ireland. They partitioned North and Southern Ireland. So to partition. The partition of India and Pakistan displaced about 20 million people with religious lines. Okay, so to partition. A partition, a vertical structure, like a thin wall that separates one part of a room from another. The partitions between the cubicles in the public toilet were very thin. To divide a country into separate parts or separate areas of government. The British partitioned Ireland into Northern and Southern Ireland. To partition a room, to divide one part of a room from another with a thin wall. Why don't you partition that large room into a lounge and a dining room? Okay, to partition, to divide a country into separate areas. To the division of something into smaller parts. Partition, dividing of a country into separate political units. A partition, a wall that separates one part of a room from another. Germany was partitioned into East and West Germany after the Second World War. So, yes, to separate. A partition between offices. Okay, to partition off a dining area, to divide into separate parts. So our office is split by a partition. The rooms were divided by a wafer thin partition. Okay, so a partition, a separation of things. Let's see, formality, a 5 in formality. I think you could use it anywhere. And this comes from Latin partitio, the act of sharing, the act of parting, dividing. So, partition. Bye for now.